with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FANation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show. We got 3 games here on a Friday. Your guy Grande was on that playbook for today. Last night we did the preview show. We kind of talked about it. We had a lot of injury news that we were sort of waiting on to come through. Some big names, obviously, on this slate. We had a big midday downgrade in one of those games. Morant, now questionable to play. We'll see if it's a real questionable or like a Steph Curry questionable where he gets downgraded and then goes out and still plays. So we'll see what happens there. Again, 3 games, 8 p.m. is the start time of that one. The roster lock tonight is 7 o'clock. Still waiting on news of LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, some names like that. We have Portland. We thought Ayton was going to play. Ayton out, Will out, the Klingon active and ready to go. It looks like he's going to be the starting center tonight. Jabari Walker, the backup there. So shorter slate, shorter player pools, and some important pieces we're still waiting on here, Grande.
Yeah, on the Morant front, I posted it in the Fantasy Alarm Discord, which you guys need to get in. It was tweeted out, and I actually thought this because I remember Ja being sick last week. And if you remember, it was a midday downgrade, and he didn't go through shoot-around. And then you know what happened, John? He played. So it's just something to consider. It was the Houston game. He was downgraded. We were like, oh, no, the sky is falling. And then he just played. It was brought to my attention by DeMichael C. on Twitter. He's a Grizzlies beat writer. But this same thing happened. So, obviously we keep that in the back of our mind. And we'll talk about the last time Ja didn't play. It was just the other day, 128 or January 17th, rather, against the Spurs. And we could talk about that game. But the downgrade for Ja also happened last week, and he played. So just keep that in mind for anyone. I've seen tweets like, oh, he's not playing, he's dead. I mean, he might not play, but he also had this exact same scenario play out 1 week ago, and he played. So, or week and a half ago. So just keep that in the back of your minds as well.
Sure. Did your Twitter change for you today? I got like a new look Twitter layout, and I don't really care for it.
No, but I mean, we shouldn't be surprised.
We'll see if it basically like shrunk the left-hand margin into like just small icons, but now there's just like a lot of dead space. I don't know. Hopefully it's just a temporary bug and not like an actual new look to the X machine here. But we appreciate you guys tuning in with us on a Friday, taking some time out of your day to get ready. I know, again, just 3 games today. We got a kind of a big Saturday slate and nothing going on Sunday. 1 game because of the conference championships here. So for the NFL, so some shorter opportunities to play, but we got it here anyways. Your top overall plays of the slate in terms of pricing is Ball and Maxey up over 10K, and Ja was 9K. 2 of those guys may not play tonight. So where are you looking to go when it comes to your lineup builds tonight at point guard?
So we're going to include all 3 of them here because I think until we hear otherwise, they're in.
Yep.
LaMelo has an elite spot against Portland. Portland's a terrible defense on the second leg of a back-to-back. And for what it's worth, Charlotte is a 5.5 point favorite. I don't think Charlotte is, a favorite against anybody if LaMelo Ball is not playing. So I think he's a great play if you can get there. Ja's a great play. I think the leverage is clear, and it's Tyrese Maxey. I don't even think it's like necessarily close. And we talk about like trying to gain leverage on the field on these smaller slates.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting to Tyrese Maxey. And I get it. It's a price that is like relatively uncomfortable. I mean, we haven't seen his price at $10,000, but on DraftKings tonight with point guard eligibility, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 names ahead of him when you're talking about ownership. And he is the second highest. He's the second most expensive play, obviously in a pretty bad spot. But any of these games could blow out. The Pelicans have 116 implied points and are 12-point favorite or 12-point
12-point dogs. Yeah.
So like, and they're getting a lot of ownership today, right? So it's like, why not just leverage that situation versus Philly when you take a guy with like Tyrese Maxey, with everyone that's off the floor for them, he gets a 7% usage bump up to 37.9%. That's a big number. So is 1.35 fantasy points per minute. So the way that I'm looking at it is I think LaMelo and I think Ja are great. And if that's where you end up, so be it. I am personally leveraging and I'm playing Tyrese Maxey at lower ownership today, just simply based on, I'm going to play some chalk. I'm gonna saddle up and play some Donovan Clingan today. I'm going to saddle up and play LeVert if you play, like, no doubt. But on 3-game slates, we talk about it all the time. You have to have leverage if you want to avoid like a lineup train.
Yep, which we will definitely have tonight.
We will undoubtedly have, like, everywhere. And like that in a train, like, you just don't have a chance to outright win. One of my GPP wins this year, I unfortunately was part of a train unknowingly, but like I played Karl-Anthony Towns late slate and I'm like, oh, so did 4 other people play. Yeah. 3 other people played Karl-Anthony Towns. This kind of sucks. And that's like the late slate thing. So I think LaMelo's great. I think Ja's great. But I think Tyrese Maxey is my leverage play at the point guard position.
Yeah, for sure. Again, we talk about it, right? And it's not like he's not like he's a leverage play where there's low upside to him, right? Like he has the ability to be among the highest scoring players. If you look at just from a projection standpoint, he's like projected to be like the second highest scoring guard on the slate. Whether or not that ends up holding true against Cleveland, I guess is another story, but no arguments here. When we did the show in the morning, we were just really in on the Pelican side. As you said, they're super chalky. They're also expected to lose by double digits and still put up a ton of points. But you have in this mid-tier range guys like DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, that foursome there, guys that we've had no problems playing this year. And obviously the upside for the Pelicans without Zion Williamson on the floor this year can't really be understated.
Yeah, it's tremendous. Here's the last 4 games for DeJounte Murray without Zion in terms of usage rates: 29.8, 34, 31.7, 31.3. Those are good numbers. All over 29%. So, yeah, DeJounte's great. 1.25 fantasy points per minute, like without Zion, Ingram, and a couple other guys. Great. But, again, you mentioned it. Like, will the game stay competitive? I think it has a chance to if Murray and Murphy and McCollum are scoring as well as they have, but you are obviously factoring that in. And then you mentioned the Cleveland guys. I think both Cleveland guys are great. I was looking at some numbers today. I like Garland more than Mitchell if Karis LeVert is in.
Okay.
There's a correlation to Garland. Garland actually leads the team in fantasy points per minute when Mobley, Okoro out and LeVert's in, and it's the complete opposite if LeVert sits, it's all Donnie Mitch. Like, it's all Donovan Mitchell. So depending on the status of LeVert will lead me to my preference in Cavs guard. I'm gonna tell you this right now. Most of these guys below, I have zero interest in.
Okay.
We'll just talk about them at shooting guard because I think the depth is trash, but I have almost no interest in anyone else at just as a strict point guard.
Okay. Shooting guard we go then. Again, Donovan Mitchell's there. Trey Murphy, $8,200. Paul George, $8,000. Desmond Bain, $7,900.
John, I have to. I was wanting to talk about Paul George. I'm just kidding. John, Desmond Bain. Do you know how many assists I had the last time Ja Morant did not play?
It says 14 on the screen.
That is correct. 14 assists, 33 minutes in a game they won by 28 points. there's something to be said about, we talk about this all the time, like how good Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane are when Ja's not on the floor.
Yeah.
So as it currently stands, I prefer Murphy and George to Desmond Bane, like of this top shooting guard list. But Desmond Bane, if Ja's out, will be my number one with a bullet. Not even close. Number one, it is what it is. I would currently rank them George, Murphy, Bane, but if Ja sits, I'd swap that in a heartbeat.
We got a newbie maybe to the Bane impression. Kadiri in the chat.
I mean, it's a
thing. It's a thing.
No.
MD was right. Shout out MD. It said SGA is trash. To be fair, though, you say SGA trash is like every slate, which obviously isn't true. But you did nail the SGA call last night. We were all in on Nikola Jokic, though. Hopefully, you guys rode with us. 20%. Guy had 99.5 fantasy points last night. So hopefully, you guys played some Joker with us in that matchup. All right, so obviously Bane, and I'm not even really going to argue with you. He's been elite anyways. Like even with Ja, you look at those numbers, and then he's been the one that's been extended in terms of minutes over the rest of that crew. And the 40-plus fantasy points have been right there. Do like Murphy, obviously, on the other side. Where are you with someone like Anthony Simons tonight at $6,400?
I'm fine with most things Portland, but it's not exciting to me.
Okay.
Only person missing is Ayton and Rob Will. It's not like I think
my only comment on that is like you've kind of pointed out that if Simons is like in that starting lineup, like he's the guy that does tend to to kind of take over, and that has been the case the last two games there.
He has undoubtedly, and I think he's good. There was also like massive foul trouble for Scoot yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
How much more time does he share the floor with Scoot? I think it's just I'm just kind of indifferent. If you end up on Portland, you end up on Portland.
Sure.
But I think
3 games late, you're probably going to get some Portland.
Yeah. Well, I have exposure in the later positions that we'll talk about, but I think Simons is fine.
Nick Smith, you and I talked about ownership and where we thought it was going to be like overall on this slate last night, and we were like, oh, like Nick Smith has to be like 80% rostered, right? Like especially if there ends up not being Ball or Bridges. We were short. We thought he'd be way more. He's short. Still 36%, but you're telling me on a 3-game slate, you have a $4,200 player against Portland that's starting and playing 30 minutes, and he's going to be less than 50%. Like obviously single entry, so probably be 50+%, but that feels like pretty good exposure. For GPPs here today, if you're only getting 30% Nick Smith.
Yeah, I am definitely holding off on my thoughts on like ownership, because we're gonna get the LaMelo like Bridges out news, and then that is gonna go to 300%.
Right.
It's gonna break the screen because they don't have enough options. No, I mean, I think in largely Karis LeVert is $200 cheaper, and I think most people would consider Karis LeVert a more proven commodity. So that's just like the direction people would go. He's over a fantasy point per minute. No Evan Mobley this year, and no Isaac Okoro, obviously, and we saw him start the last time he took the floor. So I think that was, they're going to split a lot of ownership, but it's hard not to like the positional eligibility for Smith. It's hard not to like the shot volume since entering the starting lineup. And yeah, I mean, 5.5 point home favorites, you have to like that as well. So I don't, no problem getting Nick Smith tonight.
Anthony's saying his Sixers are losing by 30 tonight.
I disagree, but Philly fans are usually dramatic. So
sometimes.
Hold on. They booed Santa Claus.
They did.
That is top of the list of like things you can't do. You can't boo Santa.
Sure.
I still hear the jingle, John. I don't know about you. I don't know if you know what that's from, but
if Ja gets ruled out,
yes.
Are you playing some Luke Kennard tonight?
He started in that game without Ja Morant. He played
26 minutes?
Yep, 26 minutes. So for everyone that thinks it's going to be Scottie Pippen played 16 minutes in that game, and they blew him out and still closed with Kennard. So yeah, I would be firmly in on
Desmond Bane's
with Kennard.
ability to play point guard impacts Scottie Pippen. So
correct.
That's
And Jaren, right?
Yeah.
Like, because Jaren if Jaren gets a rebound, he's just without Ja, he's just running up the floor with the ball. Like so like you don't actually need. I disagree with that, Anthony. You signed Paul George to $200 million deal, or whatever, 160.
They are in the very weird limbo of where if they finish in a certain spot, they like lose their first round pick.
Yeah.
So they need to either start winning or lose every game. Otherwise, they don't have like the 7th to 12th pick or whatever.
Right. I do think that as long as Joel Embiid isn't shut down for the year and they're still within striking distance, I don't think that they would ever shut it down. I mean, they gave Maxey the big extension. They have Joel Embiid and they signed Paul George. Like, I don't think there's any way. Sign Caleb Martin to a big offseason deal. Like, they shelled out a ton of money.
If you're Philadelphia, when do you start looking to trade Joel Embiid? I think is the question. Because
that's actually a legit.
You can't trust that guy to now be on the floor, like at all. But to his point, like they're only like a game and a half out of the wild card, or they're playing games, so they're not dead. But you're hitching your wagon to the process, man, and that process gave you one full season. And there,
man, that last year before that injury, that was magical.
It was great.
It was magical.
It was great. All right, shooting guard. Where else are we looking to go? You like some Jordan Hawkins tonight?
Do I like Jordan Hawkins? Yeah, in tournaments.
Yeah.
There's obviously a cap on minutes. I can say the same thing about Eric Gordon, kind of. Like, I like him in tournaments too. I think both those guys make sense, especially if we've seen Philly in competitive games lately. Gordon's been hovering around that 30-minute mark in the starting lineup. I think there's a case for Cody Martin if everybody sits. I think, the last time Miles Bridges sat, Cody Martin played 30 minutes. So could we potentially see Cody Martin if everyone sits in the starting lineup? We could. And we mentioned Karis LeVert too. I like Karis LeVert.
Small forward. Again, a lot of these guys we've touched on, but here I would imagine Denny is one of your Portland plays this evening.
No,
he's
not. No. They iced them yesterday.
Okay. And
there was no foul trouble. There was no, and I'm not talking like he lost time in blowout. He didn't. He lost 158 in blowout. He would have finished with 28 minutes in that case. And we're paying $7,000.
Do you think that's an outlier or just a thing that's going to continue?
I think it's hard to tell because Toumani Camara played so well. He played 34 minutes, would have lost 2 minutes of garbage time. We would have seen 36 out of Camara. They gave Simons 32. He would have played an extra 2 minutes, 34. Jeremy Grant, who's someone that we thought would be losing time, 34 minutes, lost 2 minutes to garbage time, would have played 36 last night. Scoot, we have no judgment on Scoot in the minutes because he fouled out in 14 minutes. And then Shane Sharp played 24.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to necessarily judge game to game. If Toumani Camara is giving them offense because he's so good defensively, they're not taking him off the floor, right? He played 24 or 20 straight minutes yesterday from the second quarter to the third quarter. Toumani Camara didn't say. If he's scoring, he doesn't come off the floor. We know Simons is their primary offensive player, and if Jeremy Grant's minutes are back up, the only scenario I guess I could see for Denny to really make a dent in the rotation again is if they go small. Are they going small with Mark Williams on the other side of the court? They did for a minute yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed like it was just to get them into a spot where they could get Rob Williams back into the game. They finished the third quarter 140, and they started the fourth quarter 130. So Denny played small ball center for 2 minutes and 3 minutes, right? Or Chris Murray, whoever you want to consider the center in that lineup. he is not really a guy that I'm interested in if he's going to be the guy squeezed. I just would rather take a shot on the cheaper options. Again, maybe it was an anomaly, maybe it wasn't, but I don't like in a game Scoot Henderson barely played, that he played 20 and a game without DeAndre Ayton. I'm not saying Ayton's playing here, but again, they have Klingon coming back, who's going to presumably start. And I don't like that he got squeezed for 26 minutes. So no, Denny is not necessarily like if you end up there, you end up there. But he's not a primary target of mine today.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, obviously earlier this year when they were healthier, he was a guy that was getting in that 25, 27 range. And we thought that was kind of surprising, right? We thought they brought him over to be like a core part of their lineup. Kamara, obviously, I think has exceeded maybe some initial expectations. And you have Kamara and Denny basically getting the same ownership. So, for much cheaper, if that's the way you think they go, then Kamara would be an option for you. Is he the play for you at this spot, or where are you looking to go, Portland? You keep saying later in the position. Is it just Klingon? Like, what are you looking at here tonight?
The next position and the last position.
So you like Jeremy Grant? Is that what you're saying?
Yep, I've come around. After some research today, I've come around on Jeremy Grant. I think small forward's the worst, easily the worst on the board. You can obviously play Murphy or Paul George here. That's a saving grace. I think Jalen Wells becomes really interesting if Santi Aldama sits specifically. I think the minutes are really secure. We'll see about Cleveland. I think Dean Wade, of the three guys here, is the guy to roster. And fortunately for us, we could play Nick Smith here. So small forward kind of stinks. I will say, dude, if everybody sits for Charlotte, like Josh Green is probably going to be a guy that gets like fully extended. Not that that's ever exciting. Maybe they dust off Josh Okogie in the starting lineup today if everyone sits for Charlotte. But terrible position overall.
Yeah. I think that's why I was a little surprised also to see the Nick Smith ownership where it was. I thought more people would just be looking to plug the value small forward in or something like that and kind of move along. So.
Well, he's just, to be fair to Nick Smith, he's the third highest rostered player of the day.
I agree. I just thought on a small slate, you usually see guys 50 plus, 60 plus %. Single entry, again, I think he gets there anyways. But if you're talking tournaments, like it's a pretty decent spot if he's the one that ends up going off of those like 33% value plays. All right, power forward is here. Triple J at 81. We've kind of talked about him, obviously, the minutes, 30, 32. Everybody's being limited. If there's no job, maybe that would extend him some, but still tremendous upside in this matchup against New Orleans here.
Yeah, it's the upside. 100%. It's the upside. If you're playing him, you're playing him for upside. And if Josh sits, you're just playing him because he's elite and too cheap.
All right, talk to me about your boy, Jeremy Grant here. What is it about Jeremy Grant that is now appealing to you?
Yeah, the price is obviously good. The matchup, Charlotte 19th in defensive rating this year. But I think the minutes, we were talking about Denny, right? The minutes for Denny have obviously, at least this last game, trended the wrong direction. Jeremy Grant, last 4 games since returning, 25-30, then 34-34 in back-to-back games. Obviously, the shot hasn't necessarily fallen. I like that the shot volume has been in the double digits the last 3 games. The 3-point volume has obviously been great. The free throws have been great. This year, no DeAndre Ayton, no Rob Will. We get a plus 2.4% usage bump up to about 23%, and he's been a 0.92 fantasy point per minute player. That's a $1,600 savings off Denny Avdia, who, for a guy who seemingly is more locked into minutes, at least in the current iteration of the Blazers. So I am taking the savings on Grant, and what is the matchup for Jeremy Grant if there's no Miles Bridges? What is defending him? There's no Salon. He's in the G League.
It's probably Kogi.
That's I know Josh Okogie's good defensively.
That's probably who it would be, right?
Is he starting? Do they start DeQuan Jeffries? Do they just go small Josh Green? There's a lot of interesting things Charlotte can do that just seems disgusting in all facets. But Yeah, I like the price whether Miles Bridges plays or not. I like Jeremy Grant's matchup.
Sure. Anybody else here? Again, small slate. I mean, you can play Yabu, both positions.
Yep. Yeah, I like Yabu.
And you have the Cleveland guys down here as well, I guess would be an option.
Santi, if he plays with no LaRavia, I think should be fine for minutes. It's disgusting. It's hard to get to, but he has a very high ceiling.
It 12.75 fantasy points while going 1 for 7 shooting. If he knocked down 2 shots, he's paying off. He's at 20 fantasy points basically.
And then got sick and left. So he didn't even. We don't even know what his fourth quarter could have looked like. Obviously, 4,800, you need him to make shots, but he can. He obviously has a very high ceiling. Only thing I'll mention here is that Javonte Green is getting a lot of ownership.
Yeah. And
I've been a little like.
The minutes have obviously been there, right? So that's kind of why.
Yeah. It's just been one of those things that I haven't found myself getting to today.
Okay. Center. Mark Williams, $7,800.
Way lower owned than we thought.
Yeah.
But
again, we thought they'd both be triple what they are, right?
Yeah, this was pre-Klingon too. He has not been owned. Since before the Portland news, he was not not owned. He's still rostered, but
yeah, a quarter of the field. So supposedly playing Mark Williams here tonight.
I mean, he's been unbelievably good. I don't really have much else. I mean, he's been about a 1.5 fantasy point per minute player this year. 1.5. He's playing with LaMelo Ball, who just does what he does, and Bridges.
Double center. That was the winning formula. Triple centering was actually the winning formula last night. But play Mark Williams, play Klingon. Just double center if you want. You like Allen, I imagine.
Oh yeah.
Going up against Yabu.
Oh yeah.
Or Edembona.
Yeah, I mean, almost a 3% usage bump. No Mobley Okoro. 1.26 fantasy points per minute.
Yeah.
Really good matchup against it. Just immensely small front court for Philly. So, as long as we get the minutes, Jared Allen should absolutely smash.
All right, let's build a lineup. Unless there's someone else you want to talk
about. Klingon.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've talked Klingon enough. What's the breakdown? Obviously, what do you think he plays?
Same thing as Rob Will last night, mid-20s. Probably no. I mean, theoretically, you could. Klingon is a foul-happy player. Could play Jabari Walker tonight if you wanted to. I don't know if you saw what Jabari Walker did last night.
Yeah.
He had 7 stocks, which is obviously.
I mean, the centers for Portland had a big night in the soccer.
They did, and that's obviously it is what it is, but. Just throwing it out there.
Simon's available, Kamara available. There you go. Getting that news there. Klingon available, as we thought. Murray available. They're all playing. Every single Portland play. All right. So, what do you think? You want Williams and then Klingon as double centering, or what do you want to do for value?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Would you still play Nick Smith?
Yeah, I'm not against
the ownership's there. Point guard, you liked the Maxey for leverage play?
Yeah.
Small forward, we said kind of sucked.
It does. Definitely
let's do Smith at small forward. Smith at small forward. Shooting guard, you're in on Bane.
Well, not exactly what I said, but yeah.
Well, it's close enough.
Sure.
Close enough. All right. So we got 5,300 power forward. We'll go like you had Yabu here probably, or you on value with Wade.
Sure.
Sure, as in which one?
Let's play Dean Wade.
Okay, Dean Wade. $6,100 guard.
Karis
LeVert for some value, and then we got a $8,200 forward. Works perfectly for Triple J. Maxey, Bane, Smith, Wade, Williams, LeVert, Jackson, and Klingon. $100 left over for an example lineup for all of you guys here today. Grande's Playbook's out. Get in that Discord, fantasyalarm.com/win. Check it out. We'll be back Monday. Good luck, everybody, over the weekend and tonight. We'll catch you later.